Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86. Here you will find everything from your favorite characters, from anime, series, or movies, such as figures, statues, trading cards, and other limited special edition items. I will show you everything that is included. For example, we will discuss the design of the box, how it's packaged, the design of the figure, the articulation points, the accessories that are included, and we will see our favorite characters in special scenes. And you never know, you might see other characters make special guest appearances, so you can decide whether it's worth getting or not. Subscribe and join me on new weekly adventures. Now let's start the show. Let's go. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. My name is Titan del 86, and today from the Metamor Verse and Zoids I present to you Ao Kiriyama and the Blade Liger. This is a special collaboration between Takara Tomy and Kotobukiya. On the side of the box you have the animated drawing of Ao Kiriyama along with the Blade Liger. On the back midsection of the box you have the credits, and it tells you exactly what Metamor Verse really is, which is a meta space where it can be anything you want to be in this world. It takes VR and AI technology to be more advanced than what they are in the real world. So you have a number of game companies that partner and develop and operate these types of games with special VR devices where it can digitize the player's consciousness. So in other words, the whole concept is basically Digimon, where you go into the digital world and you make friends with a digital creature, where here they're known as body armors, but we all know it's really a Digimon. So the main takeaway here is that the Zoid character is actually a Digimon. And then when you start discussing the Metamorph, it basically takes the same concept as Saint Seiya, where you could take the body armor as quote-unquote the cloth, very similar to a Saint Seiya constellational armor, where the suitor is able to wear it, which is what you have in the Favo Armor mode, and then it just gives you the next advanced stage, which is the Favo Armor mode, Awakening, which to me, by allowing it to blend into one, you have not only elements from Saint Seiya, but it also starts to tap into Digimon Season 3, where the Digidestined were able to fuse with their Digimon to create a more powerful version of that Digimon. And here is basically taking those two concepts, applying them, and this is what you're getting. Overall, I like the concept, but you can see where the ideas originated from. So now let's go into the digital Zoids world. So this is a 1/10 scale articulated plastic model kit. So we have Ao Kiriyama in her pretty armor mode, which is the base form, that gets paired with the body armor, which is the chibi robot here, being the Blade Liger, or as you want to call it, quote unquote, the Digimon, where the body armor can be combined with the pretty armor mode to create the Fable armor mode in both normal and awaken versions. So in this particular kit we have the 3 face parts with the different hand types, and for this one our body armor is going to be the Blade Liger, and it allows the figure to use the Blade Liger blades as weapons. You could also see different poses of the figure in all 3 stages. On the final side of the box you have Ao Kiriyama with the Blade Liger, but in the background you have the animated drawing from where the concept of this figure came from. Now for the top side of the box it has this very beautiful drawing of Ao Kiriyama and the Blade Liger, and here you can see the art that inspired this particular model kit, which was illustrated by Needy 2D. Design wise, I really like how they styled the box. The box looks really clean and attractive. I like the combinations of how the pink gradually turns into blue, especially with the animated drawings depicting the figure, which is something that Takara Tomy and Kotobukiya do very well. And looking at the figure of Ao Kiriyama, she's really incorporating all the design features that we have from the Blade Liger. So this particular kit was released in 2 versions, having the blonde hair with the ability to switch her into the pink hair. One thing that I'm not liking is how they package the special edition ones. For example, as you can see here, it comes in the bubble wrap, but then is paper taped to the main box. And we saw this similar type of style packaging with Robotech's Venom. I think they should have just updated the packaging to include the bonus part within inside the box. The main problem that I have with it is that it exposes the risk of the bonus part getting ripped off, lost, and potentially coming to you damaged. Removing the top side of the box, you can see that every piece of this kit comes in its own individual plastic bag. This basically reminds me of when I was doing the review for the Power Rangers in space. If you haven't checked that video, I suggest you go check it out. Here's an overview of all the content that came with this figure. Some of these are very easy to depict. For example, the blue pieces, you can tell that those belong to the Blade Liger. Each section comes in its own plastic bag. Some of them are shared and some are not. The good thing is that on each one of these, and I am going to call them cells, each one of these cells has an identification which should correlate with the instructions. These are a lot of pieces, so we'll see how difficult it is to put together this model kit. Another thing to note, if you bought the regular version, your figure only came with the blonde hair. But if you got the deluxe version, then you got the additional option of switching it off with the pink hair. As you can see, the holding cells are exactly the same, the only difference is the color. Here's an overview of the instructions that come with Ao Kiriyama and the Blade Liger. I really like how they design and style the instructions. If you see, the cover looks really amazing. It has a really nice touch to it. Behind the first page, you basically get a quick summary of the story that is behind this figure along with the Blade Liger. Then in the next section, you basically get the exploded view of all the different cells with all the different parts that come with the figures. In general, the whole instruction booklet is separated by sections. So in every section, it shows you a particular portion of the figure that you're gonna be assembling. So at the beginning, it tells you how to assemble the Ao figure. Then it shows you the weaponry. Afterwards, it shows you how to assemble the Blade Liger. Then it tells you how to disassemble the figures, which I didn't really like, to get her into the normal Favo Armor. And finally, it concludes with showing you how to assemble her for the awakening mode. The one good thing that I like about the instruction booklet is not only are the instructions clearly defined, it also gives you a couple hints and warnings, especially when it comes to cutting the parts off the tree. It really tells you which packs you need to be very careful with, and it also tells you the order of operation. As long as you follow the instruction booklet step by step, you should be okay. The other thing that I like about this instruction booklet is that it gives you some really good graphics. Even though they're black and white, the representation is phenomenal. The instructions are really good, and I like the quality of the booklet that they give you. And finally, I present to you Ao Kiriyama. The one thing that does come to mind is how light the figure is. Compared to other figures that we have in this channel, I would say this is one of the lightest one. And a big tribute to that is because the figure, since it's a model kit, is just mostly shells. So there's nothing on the inside or any pieces that are extremely heavy or fully filled in. So I want to say half of the figure is mostly just empty air within inside the joints, which ends up making her very light. The other thing that I noticed is that not all the other plastics are the same material as far as stiffness goes. Some of the plastics are more brittle than other ones, and some of them were somewhat of a softer plastic type. One thing that I do caution is the hair is very fragile and very brittle, but I really like the combinations that she has as far as the figure design with the black and the blue with the small white highlights. On this one, I didn't put the skirt because you have this other two white pieces around the thighs that you can substitute it, so technically she doesn't have to wear it. So here's what she really looks like without that. Assembling the figure was extremely difficult, and because of that, I want to give her a rating of 9 out of 10 on the difficulty level. The reason I say that is because she came with a lot of little different pieces, and it was just very time consuming. Not only because of that, but trying to get all the little pieces as well. Some of them were really difficult to grip, especially the really tiny ones. But if you go past that, the figure does look really amazing. As you can see here, she's got some really nice good details, and especially how they designed her as far as the body goes. She is really top heavy, if you know what I mean. Now let's check out the articulation points that we get with Ao Kiriyama. The neck movement and head movement is super impressive, which is something that I was already expecting when I was assembling the figure. This is as high as both sides go. This is as far back as you can pull them. It kind of reminds me of Sailor Moon's hair. So for these, you get 360. So basically there's no limit of what you can do with it, as you can see. You can have lots of endless poses that you can do with the hair. Just be careful because it is very fragile. This is as far as you can see down, and this is as high up. For the arms, this is as straight as they go. She doesn't have any extension pieces for you to expand the shoulder movement, but because of how you can do the angles and all that stuff, that shouldn't really be an issue anyway, so you don't really need it. It's because she has really great movement coming off the shoulder joint, as you see here. Here's the 360 of the arm. She has bicep rotation there. This is as far as the elbow goes. You get 360 of the wrist. You get some up and down movement. She does get some chest movement, side to side movement. There's no rotation movement though. The rotation still comes in from the bottom of the chest. It would have been nice if she had another cut section to give you articulation from the hips, but that is obviously not here. Everything comes in from the middle of the torso. This is as high as the leg can go. This is as far back as it goes. So it's really good, and the joints are really smooth. This is as far as you can split the legs. She does have some nice thigh rotation, and she also has some minor movement between the thigh and the hips. Here's the knee. So the knee, again, it comes with two levels. This is the first level, or you can go this way. So that gives you the full range of motion. The ankles, this is as far down as they go. This is as high up. The toe also has some movement. Not a whole lot though. And you do get a little bit of rotation there. So you could do inboard and outboard as well. So overall, articulation points, this figure is really phenomenal. I think this is one of the best figures in that particular category that I have done in this channel. So besides all the struggles in assembling her, she does come through with some excellent articulation points. And there you have her. And here's the 360 of the Blade Liger, also known as the body armor, aka the chibi robot, or if you capture this whole concept, it's basically a Digimon version of the Blade Liger. Either way you call it, it's all the same. For a figure this small, he really has some really good details that capture all the essence of the Blade Liger. It really reminds me of the one that Ben Flyhigh used to pilot, along with Zeke from Zoid's Chaotic Century. Overall, they really captured the key highlights of the blue with the white portions of it, and towards the back you can see the two blades where it gets its name as the Blade Liger. If you remember the several Liger variants, for example the Shield Liger. This one, assembling it, I want to give it a 5 out of 10 on the difficulty level, and I say that because it wasn't as difficult as Ao Kiriyama, and it also didn't have that many pieces that were really tiny and difficult to maneuver. It was basically pretty straightforward as far as assembling it. It did require some time, but it was nowhere near the time it took me to assemble Ao. So to me, out of the two figures, this one was the easiest one. And again, it's also a very light figure just because of how everything is designed to be a shell that just snaps into other pieces. Let's check out what articulations we get out of this Blade Liger. So he has some good head rotation. This is as down as it goes, and this is as high up, which is really good. And you can kind of see that they added a joint here to kind of help you expand that movement in case you need it. So that further improves the overall movement, as you see here, which is way better than the Shield Liger if you remember my video from that time. The mouth does open and close. So this is as far closed, and this is as far open. There's no outboard rotation for the legs. They can only go up or down. All these joints are fixed, so there's no movement, but you get 360 from the paw. So that is mostly where your movement is going to come, with some articulation based off the legs. There's no torsional rotation as you see here. The tail, you can rotate it only by the base, so you're not going to get too much flexibility out of it. In here are the rear leg movements. So max forward, max back. And again, you do get a 360 from the rear paw. Since this whole section is fixed, so you're relying on leg position and paw location. And obviously the blades do move. So overall, he's got some good articulation points, but they're not as good as Ao Kiriyama since it doesn't have that many joints, just based on how they did the legs. But articulating the figures shouldn't be a problem anyway. And there you have it. Here's a collective of figures, just so you can see how the Blade Liger and Ao Kiriyama basically line up as far as the height goes. So I included some figures from Bandai, SH Figure Arts, Funko Pop, Hot Toys, also including Hasbro. So you have Nezuko, Psylocke, Ao Kiriyama, Majin Vegeta, the Blade Liger, Dogpool, and Venompool. Just to give you a height comparison on how the figure compares to the other figures. And in case you haven't seen my review of those other figures, I suggest you take the time and go check them out. So height wise is your typical figure, so you shouldn't have too much issues finding a space on the shelf. Here's a quick look at the 3 expressions that come with Ao. The first one is a happy expression where she's looking to her left. The second one is more of an action intense expression where you can see her grunting and she looks mad. The last one is a scared nervous expression. But she also came with a sticker sheet that basically shows the eyebrows, the eyes, and the cheeks, which I'm not really sure what the full intention was of that, because based on what I see here, I don't really think I need the stickers. If you know that, let me know in the comments. So overall, I like the 3 faceplates that they gave her. I'm still not sure why they gave her the stickers. No, these are painted faces, which looks like on the second model you don't get that. I really like that they went ahead and added the expressions, because if you remember my time from when I did the Power Rangers in space, I was not really a huge fan of the stickers. So I'm glad that I was able to avoid that here. And I think that's why we got the sticker sheets with the figure. In case you don't like this, you can basically take some paint thinner and get rid of the painted expressions and use the stickers. But with this, I'm not really sure if you really want to. I know for a fact I'm definitely not messing with it. As Ao Kiriyama made her first appearance into this digital world with her VR headset, she started wandering to the woods, and within the woods danger lurks there. So she heard a small creak followed by a giant roar. She looks there and she sees a giant Kawagomon that was starting to attack her. So she panicked, she ran to the point where she couldn't run anymore because she was backed into a corner. But then through the corner of her eye, a giant blue dashing thing appeared. And who it is? Other than the Blade Liger, ready to protect her. So for this scene, I have Ao being rescued by the body armor Blade Liger with the shocked expression. For this one, the Blade Liger has the blades drawn out. So for this one, I'm using the base to hold the Liger in mid-space. One thing that I like about the base is that it gives you a really nice good set angle, so you can tilt it whichever way you want. You just want to be careful because the stems on it are a little bit flimsy. And I really like how both of these figures turned out. As you can see here, they really complement each other, with Ao with the blue and the black, along with the white accents, which really complements the Blade Liger's colors. They look really good together actually. For this scene, I took out the 2 white pieces that were covering the upper section of her hips, and I replaced it with the skirt. One thing to note, having the skirt does limit a little bit of the leg movement, but you're still able to get good poses out of her. The one thing that I noticed is that if you want to use the Blade Liger's blades, you just have to be careful where you have to maneuver both legs so the piece doesn't interfere when it's coming down. The one thing that I would like to have seen better done is, if you look at how the blades are done on the back side, they're not really fully physically held down by the black piece. So if you're opening the blades to show them in attack mode, Just be cautious because the blade does have a tendency to fall out. But other than that, the figure looks really amazing. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on this baby Blade Liger. One of my favorite things that I like to highlight on the figure is the little detail of the Blade Liger head between the neck and the chest. I really find that as a statement piece. It just looks really nice to bring in the whole armor and the look of the figure together. For this one, I gave her the joyful happy expression since she had just entered the normal mode of her Favo armor. So she's starting to feel that new energy and that capability that comes after she merges with the Blade Liger. One thing I would like to have seen on this figure would have been to give her some armor in the back. If you notice it, she is really exposed there. So to me, that would be a major weakness when she's in mid-combat. She basically has armor in all her key areas except her backside, leaving it wide open. For me, I'm liking more the pink hair, and I say that because it actually makes the blue pop a little bit more. Where the blonde hair didn't really give me that offset color. Let me know in the comments which hair color you like better. To assemble the figure, I want to give it a 7 out of 10 on the difficulty level. The reason I say that is because it was also time consuming, but you also had to deal with a lot of little individual pieces. And on top of that, you had to basically go back and reassemble some of the stuff out from the 2 previous versions that I showed. Basically, most of the pieces came out of the Blade Liger, and same thing with Ao, where you had to undo certain steps just to come back and redo them. One thing that I noticed that the figure fell short is if you look at her arms, she's got this metal piece that connects the armor in the shoulder to the armor in the forearm that goes into the Liger claws. In there, she's got like a second joint there, but inside of it during assembly, I didn't notice that to be a fixed point on the bottom side near the wrist. So when you're bending the arms, you gotta be mindful that you also bend that piece. If not, it's not gonna match and it will just end up sticking out. I think on this one they could have did something more to make it a fixed point. In case you're wondering, this is basically all that's left of the unused parts from the Blade Liger once you assemble Ao and her Favo armor normal mode. And that is something that it would have been nice if you would have still left the Liger with kind of like the bare pieces, you know, from watching Zoids where they can shed some of the armor but they still have some underneath armor. Because by doing this, you can no longer display Ao with the Blade Liger. For this thing, I have Ao Kiriyama, but now she is in the Favo Armor Awaken mode. For this one, I gave her the grunting expression. So hopefully you can see it through the canopy. The only difference between this Awaken versus the normal mode, it is basically now you get the Liger head as a helmet with the canopy, and you're also making the Liger claws more pronounced. So in the feet, before they were part of the heels, now they're part of the toes. And on the forearms, they were withdrawn, but now they're fully out. So in theory, she could use these kind of like Wolverine claws. Assembling the figure, it just took a couple extra few steps. Again, you're basically stripping off the Blade Liger for the headpiece. In case you're wondering, you can display her without the canopy. The other thing I didn't like about this figure is if you're trying to get her into the other different modes, is basically the whole assembly and disassembly that comes with it. I say that because on some of these pieces, once you insert them or snap them in, they become very difficult to undo, where there's a really good risk where you could actually break the figure. It's also that you're leaving the figure to have loose joints later on, as well as loose attachments. They do have another version that's coming out later this year. This one's called Aoi Sanyama. Then again, it follows the same formula as this one. The only difference is that you get the red Blade Liger, which is very similar to the one that Leon pilot from Zoids New Century. And the other difference is instead of having blonde hair, she comes with brown hair. And same thing as far as the armor goes. It's basically the same pattern, so you can basically think of it as a repaint of this figure. And like I said, this one was very time consuming, but the payoff was really good. I really like what they offered for the figure. As far as I have seen from the figures on this channel, this one is the most articulated figure of all. So it does have a couple trade-offs, and I really like the design cues that they emphasized. And again, the theme of the VR to me is just basically the theme of Digimon. But I really like the concept of it. The figure is very well proportioned and it just looks really nice. But overall, it's a really good figure to have in the collection, especially if you're a big Zoids fan. This is just something different. This is all I have for you today. If you like what you have seen, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share the video, and I'll see you next week with a brand new one. Thank you and bye.